Welcome to another NUCIDA video. If you like it, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, and click the bell. Never forget our upcoming sessions. If you have any questions or hints, please leave a comment. Our certified QA experts will reply in time. Tosca by Tricentis is a comprehensive test automation tool designed to automate end-to-end testing for software applications. It is known for its model-based approach to test automation, which simplifies the creation and maintenance of automated test cases. Tosca supports a wide range of applications, including web, mobile, API, desktop, and cloud-based platforms. Let's dive in to learn more about the Tosca test automation tool and unleash the secrets. In this video, I will show you in our January 2025 demo the latest test automation features of Tosca that support AI-driven testing. The first thing I'm going to do is show you the application we're going to be automating today together. It is the Tricentis Vehicle Insurance app. It allows you to get insurance for a vehicle. These are the different types of vehicles, for example, automobiles, which is what we're going to focus on. If you go in here, you can see there are some data entry screens with all sorts of different fields, which is nice for us to demonstrate the different features of Tosca. And just going through a tab I've prepared earlier, once you've entered all of this data, you end up at this table screen with all of these different prices for different levels of insurance that you might want to buy. Of course, this helps you know that if you're a tester for this application, you'd want to make sure all these figures are correct. The system is spitting out all the correct values, so we can do checks and validations on this as well. So we're going to automate the process here of getting up to this pricing table, and to do that, we're going to go into Tosca. You can see Tosca here is a Windows application. We have the ribbon across the top, as you've come to expect. We've also got these little tabs here with different functions for Tosca. These are called sections, and they all perform slightly different things. We're going to cover some of those as we go through today. Let's start our test. So of course, the first thing we need to do is create a test case. If I right-click on this folder I've created, I can select Create Test Case. I give it a name. We'll call it the Create Automobile Quote. There you can see we've got an empty test case ready to go. From here, we need to start adding test steps. There are a few ways that we can do that. The first thing we need to do is, of course, ask Tosca to open a browser window at a specific URL. To do that, we can use this button at the top on the ribbon called Search and Add Test Step. And if I just type in there, it filters out existing test steps that I could add to my test. Each of these test steps are modules, and there are default standard modules that Tricentis provides for common actions that you want to take in your tests. For example, OpenURL is a module that Tricentis provides in the standard modules pack that will open a browser and a URL. We have a lot of different standard modules available, including ones for common enterprise applications and to deal with some of the specific interface elements of those applications. You can see a lot of different ones here around SAP, for example, the SAP tile page in Fiori that you might be familiar with navigating through the SAP GUI, and so on. So there are a bunch of standard modules that we read. The first thing that I'm going to do here for our test is open a URL. If I select that, you can see a test step has now appeared in my test, and we have a set of attributes here that we can instruct Tosca on what to do. Of course, for OpenURL, it wants to know what URL to open. So I'm just going to copy the URL here from my application on the test and pop it into Tosca. The second step that we need to go through in our application test is to click this automobile link so that we can start the automobile quote process. I have previously created a module for that step, so I'm going to do the same process again. Vehicle Insurance homepage, click that. You can see another test step has been created. I've got a drop down here in this control group allowing me to select which sort of quote I want to do. We want to do an automobile quote for today. The next step, after clicking Automobile, is to fill in the form about the type of vehicle we want to insure. Currently, I don't have a module created for that, so we need to create one. The first step in Tosca to create modules is called scanning. Let's go ahead and do that. To start, navigate to the Module section in Tosca, where I've already created a folder for today. I right-click on that folder and select Scan. There are various types of applications and tests we can scan, such as applications, APIs, mobile, PDF, remote, terminal, and more. For today, we'll be scanning an application. Select that option, and a small interface called XScan will open. It will ask which of the open applications on your PC you want to scan. In this case, we want to scan the Chrome window with our web application, so I select that. Tosca can scan and automate Windows applications, web apps, and many other types of applications. For this web page, Tosca has detected that it's a web app and will use the HTML engine to perform the automation. It will analyze the HTML properties of the elements on the screen to determine how to interact with them. Additionally, Tosca features a unique AI system called Vision AI. Instead of analyzing HTML properties, Vision AI examines the appearance of the screen, similar to looking at screenshots. It identifies elements based on their appearance, which is incredibly powerful. This allows you to start building tests with Vision AI using wireframes, mock-ups, or screenshots of your app before it's even built. Building tests before your app is built and getting a head start can be incredibly valuable. Today, we'll focus on HTML. Click the Scan button, and a small interface will pop up over the page you want to scan. Instruct Tosca on which elements on this interface you want to interact with by clicking on the fields you need to fill out as part of your test. As you click on these fields, the XScan window on the right will list all the elements you've selected. Each element will be named, but some may come through with an ID tag that isn't immediately clear. For example, kilowatt might not be obvious to others after the module is created. You can rename these attributes to ensure your tests are always human-readable. You can also change the module name at the top. Click Finish Screen to close the scanning interface. Back in Tosca, you'll see the new module has been created. Resize it if needed, and you'll see a screenshot of the screen related to this module, along with all the attributes you scanned. Your module is now ready to use. Add the module as a test step in your test by dragging and dropping it. Clear the interface a bit, and you'll see the module has been converted into a test step. Now, if I look in here, you can see my test step includes all the elements we selected during our scan. Importantly, all test steps in Tosca retain a link back to the module used to create them, and we'll see the benefit of that shortly. For now, I'm going to hard code some data. While hard coding data isn't ideal for final tests, it's useful for developing and seeing how our automation flows. I'm entering data that I know will work. Now that we've instructed Tosca on what to do with each scanned element, we can run the test step. We do this by running the test in Scratchbook, a quick debug mode that lets us see our tests run in real time in an open browser window within seconds. We should see Tosca fill out the form according to the data I entered, and you can see it doing just that. It's really that simple to start testing in Tosca. We create a test case, add our test steps, scan any necessary modules, and incorporate them into our test case. One of the challenges in test automation is not only creating test cases, but also maintaining them over time. Our applications are constantly evolving. Developers add and remove buttons, change labels, and modify processes. As testers, we need to continually update our tests to keep up with these changes. Next, you might have noticed that I didn't scan the Next button on purpose. I left it out deliberately. Let's imagine that the Next button has suddenly appeared in this release, and you've been asked to test it. We need to update our module to include this button, and we'll do that now. As mentioned, each test step retains a link to the module that created it. You can verify this by right-clicking on the test step and selecting Jump to Module. which will take you back to the module function and highlight the relevant module. Next, right-click on that module and select Rescan. Rescanning allows us to update an existing module with the new state of our application. The rescan screen will open in a more advanced mode than before. You'll see a list of all the elements detected on this screen, including links, labels, and other elements, along with those already in the module. For example, the Make dropdown is already in our module, indicated by a checkmark. On the right-hand side, you can see how Tosca uniquely identifies each element on the page. Often Tosca makes excellent choices, so you don't need to worry about these technical details. However, if you're technically inclined, you might be curious about how Tosca does this. In this case, Tosca uses a unique ID and tag to identify the element. Generally, you don't need to worry about these technical properties, but if your developers haven't provided unique IDs or other identifiers, you can select which properties will remain static over time and adjust them as needed. There is a slider up here that you can adjust. Moving it to the right will display the entire document object model, DOM, of this HTML page. This can be useful if you need to automate something very specific. For today, we'll move it to the left to show only the elements on this particular screen that are already part of our module. Click the Select on Screen button and repeat the process we used to create the module initially. Add the Next button and you'll see it's now added to the list. Save this and exit out. When we return to Tosca, you'll see that this element has now appeared in our module. Even better, if we go back to test cases, our test step now includes that particular element. There are two important points to note. First, we don't need to interact with every element in a module. As it stands, our test will continue to work. This is crucial because other approaches, like page object models, often break existing tests when the underlying model changes. Tosca's approach ensures that adding new elements to our module won't break our test. We only need to edit the test steps that interact with the new element. In this case, I want it to click the Next button. So I select Click, and we've now updated that module. I'll run this quickly in Scratchbook so we can see Tosca clicking that Next button. It's probably going to fill in all those fields again with the same data, but we should see it move on to the next page of insurance data, demonstrating how simple this process is. Here it goes. There we go, and it's clicking the Next button. We've just seen how easy it is to create a test case, add test steps, scan a module, and rescan a module to maintain it over time. Now, let's explore a couple of other features of Tosca. To do that, I'll show you a test I prepared earlier. It follows the same flow we've been working with. Open URL, homepage, and enter vehicle data. However, you might notice a few additional elements, and I wanted to highlight those. Tosca is entirely no-code. You've seen me use no-code during this demo. However, it does include functions similar to Excel functions. These functions allow you to perform tasks like math calculations, date manipulations, and generating random text and numbers. For example, this function takes today's date, subtracts 18 years, and formats it according to my application's requirements. This ensures that every time I run this test, the person being insured is 18 years old today, which is crucial for my tests. You can see how these functions add the necessary dynamism to your tests. We also can generate random text, which provides 20 random characters for the street address and random numbers. This will generate a 5-character random number. At the bottom, we have two critical pieces of functionality. So far, we've seen how Tosca can automate tasks, but a test isn't complete until you've checked, assured, validated, or verified something. In these lines, we can see how Tosca performs verifications. First, we select the element we want to verify on the screen. In this case, it's the silver price. I enter the expected price, which should be $149. Then, we select the action mode Verify. This will check the quote price for silver and pass the test if the silver price is $149. or fail the test if it is not. I've done the same for the other prices listed here. We also see another important feature and a common pattern in testing called a buffer. A buffer stores a value at a certain point in our test and reuses it later. For example, if you're creating a sales order as a test, you'll want to capture the sales order number to reuse it later in the Edit Sales Order test. In Tosca, we do this by selecting the element on the screen with the value we want to save. We give the buffer a name, in this case gold quote, and select the buffer action mode from the drop-down. When Tosca processes this pricing table, it will store the quote value in the gold quote buffer, which we can reuse later. At the bottom, you can see how I've reused that value. I'm adding the different quote values, silver, gold, and platinum, to the comments field so we can see them being used. This demonstrates how easy it is to reuse buffered values by using curly brace functions, which are replaced at runtime. Let's quickly run through this pre-created test, and you'll see some of those random numbers appear. We should also see how the buffered values for those prices show up in the comments section towards the end. Watch as Tosca speeds through our test case, displaying random numbers and text. Here we go to the price screen. If you're observant, you'll notice the buffered values being reused in the comments. These features and capabilities in Tosca allow us to add dynamism to our tests. Now, moving on from test case design. When we first looked at this screen, I mentioned I was hard-coding the values for now, but that's not ideal for long-term testing. It's common in testing to repeat the same test with slightly different data. For example, if you're testing this app, you need to test a range of ages, 20, 30, 40, etc. You also want to test boundary cases, like what happens if the person is 0 years old or 200 years old. Will the system provide a quote or give a valid error message? This kind of data-driven testing is crucial, and there are various ways to achieve it. Tosca offers an elegant solution for this. Let's go over to test case design, where you can create test data sheets that resemble Excel, but are far more sophisticated. At the top, you'll see a set of different test cases. Below, you'll find various data attributes that need to be entered on the first screen of our vehicle insurance quoting app, such as the make, engine performance, date of manufacture, and so on. You can enter all the necessary data and create your test cases in this design sheet. There's a lot of functionality here, but I won't cover everything today. You can automatically create test cases, mark boundary cases, and expand data across all possible combinations. For now, I've prepared 5 test cases with different data sets. Let's see how we can manage this in Tosca. I'll go back to test cases and open a previously created test case. This test case includes the same steps: creating a quote, navigating the home page, entering vehicle data, and so on. On the first screen, you'll notice functions like XL enter vehicle data, make. This instructs Tosca to pull data for this field from the spreadsheet. I've marked this particular test case in Tosca as a template, indicating that it can be reused with various data from an associated test data sheet. Tosca can then automatically create all our test cases. To do this, right-click on the test template and select Create Template Instance. Confirm that you want to start instantiation now. In just a few seconds, Tosca will generate a new set of 5 different test cases. Each of these represents a specific set of test data. You can see there are 5 test cases related to the vehicle manufacturer, each fully functional. On the Enter Vehicle Details screen, you'll notice that Tosca has substituted the values from the spreadsheet into the test. This is powerful because it allows us to easily identify which test might have failed and trace it back to the exact data entered on the data sheet. It also simplifies maintenance. For example, if we want to start testing BMWs, we simply add another test case to the data sheet. Enter the relevant data for BMW, including any validations and prices. Then, go back to your test cases and ask Tosca to reinstantiate the template instance. In just a second, Tosca will create a new test case with the BMW data ready for execution. This approach is incredibly valuable for quickly creating test cases and gaining clear visibility into what has passed or failed during execution. Now let's move on to the final part of Tosca I wanted to show you, executing our tests. Navigate to the Execution tab. Here, you can create execution lists, which are collections of your previously created test cases. For example, you can add an entire folder of new tests to an execution list, making them ready for execution. You can create as many execution lists as needed. You might have a comprehensive execution list for overnight tests, containing various regression tests, or a smoke test list for quick checks. You can set up different types of tests to run at different times. There are also integrations for CI/CD pipelines, allowing you to execute tests as part of your development workflow. In the Execution tab, you get an overview of the current state of tests being executed. For instance, at the top, you can see that I've run 6 tests in this list. 5 have passed, and 1 has failed. To understand what happened, you can expand the tree view. In the automobile execution list, if you open an individual template instance, you'll see the familiar set of tests. Audi and Volkswagen have passed, indicated by green checks, but the Mercedes test has failed. Let's investigate what went wrong. I opened the Mercedes-Benz tree, and you can see all the different times I've executed this test with a date timestamp. By opening a recent execution, you can view the individual steps. Here are the steps that passed, but you can see the Select Price Options step failed. Expanding this step reveals that the failure was due to a verification check. In the details, you can see that I expected the price to be $1, but the observed price on the screen was $149. This makes it easy to understand what went wrong. While there are other ways to output test results, this method provides a quick and clear understanding of what happened. Next, let's explore the next evolution of Tosca Cloud. I'll log in to Tosca Cloud, which is a cloud-based version of Tosca. It offers many of the same features and functionalities I showed you in this Tosca on-premise video. With Tosca Cloud, you can execute test cases in the cloud or locally, manage and maintain your modules, and perform scans and rescans. I won't go into detail in this, but we will produce another video where I will explain how to use Tosca Cloud. For now, I'll give you a brief preview by returning to our Tosca on-prem instance. Notice the 2 buttons in the ribbon of the main menu at Tosca Cloud. We've created a connection between Tosca on-prem and Tosca Cloud, allowing you to migrate your test assets seamlessly. Let's take this execution list that I set up earlier. It contains one specific test case. Create quote. Right-click on the execution list and select Upload to Tosca Cloud. This action will communicate with your cloud instance. Select the workspace you want to use, and Tosca will upload all your on-prem assets to the cloud. Now, if we go into the cloud and refresh the screen, you'll see that the test case, Automobile Create Quote, has appeared. The cloud execution list, known as a playlist in Tosca Cloud, is also visible. Even better, you can see the individual test steps, just like the ones we've been working with. You can run the test inside your local browser using a small launcher utility that you download. Watch as it runs through the test rapidly, showcasing the ability to migrate your Tosca on-prem test assets to the cloud and manage, use, and run them immediately. In the Test Run section, you can see the test run we just executed. Opening the results, you'll find the new results screen in Tosca Cloud, which includes all the verifications, log info, values used, and more. Lately, we received several questions about Tosca from our clients that I want to answer now. The first question is, can you automate tests from the cloud when the application under test is on-premise? There are various agent types you can use with Tosca. One is a cloud agent, which we host in the cloud and requires your application to be publicly available. But there's also a team agent that can be installed locally. allowing you to configure it to access your on-prem application. Another customer wants to know more about the features of Copilot within Tosca. We have quite several AI features in Tosca, which we call Tosca Copilot. If I open Copilot, you can see several options. For example, you can ask Copilot to explain an existing test case in plain English or any other language you're using. You can get execution insights, convert natural language to TQL, a query language in Tosca, and more. However, I think the most exciting feature is the ability to generate test cases. This is where we see the future of testing heading. Imagine a scenario where you describe the intent of your test in plain English, and it automatically generates the test modules and steps for you. I've experimented extensively with Tosca Copilot, and you can see here that you provide it with test instructions. For example, you might say, click on the automobile link and enter the following data, and it will interpret this plain English instruction. It will then determine what actions are needed in the application to achieve that goal, input any data you provide, and generate Tosca test cases for you. Sometimes generative AI feels almost magical, and this is certainly one of those instances. Again, we will produce another Tosca video to demonstrate the power of Tosca's generative AI. The Copilot is that powerful. Therefore, we need to produce a separate video to cover all its stunning features. So, stay tuned and subscribe to our channel. Concerning our YouTube comments, many viewers want to know more about Vision AI. Does it only check screenshots, or does it improve test performance when a browser is updated? Of course, yes. Vision AI, instead of e.g. analyzing individual HTML elements and their properties, examines a screenshot of your browser. It uses AI to identify elements within that screenshot, such as recognizing a drop-down menu and deciding to click on it. Vision AI offers a different approach to testing. You can run a Vision AI test alongside our HTML tests, and they would perform similarly. However, Vision AI might be slightly slower because it needs to analyze each screen and its visual elements. The purpose of Vision AI is to assist in situations where creating stable automation using HTML or Windows-based methods is challenging. It also allows us to automate tasks that we haven't yet encountered. For instance, you could automate by creating modules based on screenshots instead of creating modules from an existing application. With Tosca's scanning functionality, it will generate a reusable, runnable module based on the screenshot, rather than an application that's already running. If you like it, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, and click the bell. Never forget our upcoming sessions. If you have any questions or hints, please leave a comment. Our certified QA experts will reply in time, or even produce a separate video about your topic. Please also check out our other over 200 videos about software quality. Happy testing. See you next time.